Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today, and that's an excellent question. On January 6th, 2025, we'll try for 2026. We can tell how my day is going, can't we? Anyway, I build myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I guide virtually every decision I make by. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people over the years with varying degrees of success, depending on their own personal efforts. Now, today we are going to talk about literally believe in your finances and follow your dreams. Okay, what we're looking at is how to actually take your finances and make them work for you instead of against you. But before we get into that, I do want to tip my hat to Storm. He is our primary moderator in the background, and he is there to make sure that technology keeps working properly. Good luck in my world. He also is there to make sure problem children are out the door before they become problems. You know, one of the biggest things that you got to remember with Storm, some people have said he's a bit of a bully. And the reality is, Storm does exactly what I asked him to. He removes problems before they become problems. How are we doing, Operation? Glad you could join us. Now, before we get any further into it, we have Mike Jones is in with the gold. How you doing, Mike? Glad you could join us. And then we also have Kara Ava, who is a new moderator here, although she's been in my life a whole long time, as in 5.5 years, and you love this one, not even one fight between us. With that in mind, she's my wife, a moderator, my editor, and my executive assistant. Needless to say, when I said I wanted the best of the best, this is why I've got these moderators in place.
Hi, everybody.
Now, scroll down here a bit. And we've got Operation in with the silver. How's it going, Operation? And I do believe, there we are. Now, we start with the easy part. And yeah, quite honestly, today I figured I would go with this little book, Believe in Your Finances and Follow Your Dreams. If you go to the link at the top of the stream, at the top of the chat room, that goes buymeacoffee.com/innervoiceJ. You can get either the physical copy or a PDF. Okay, both can be ordered right there on the spot. Now I've got the physical ones in print, so it just literally boils down to order comes in, within 3 business days it goes out. But here's what it boils down to. Okay, now there is a reason why I keep these books short. I figure as long as we keep it short, then if you require information, you go in, grab it. Finances are not complicated. But what you do have to remember is money doesn't care who you are, doesn't care who you worship, doesn't care who you vote for, doesn't even care who you sleep with. Okay, money itself is simply doing its thing. So when you're getting started to take a look at your finances, now many of you, if you're like me at all, ended up with a neat little problem in life. You didn't pay proper attention to finances. You were told nothing about it growing up, which was the problem I had. Okay, the biggest mistake, in my opinion, that most parents make is when they're looking at finances, they do not include the kids. Okay, and I'm telling you, seriously, I'm telling you this one. Get your kids, when you're working on your finances, your standard day-to-day bills. Bring the kids in, show them what you're doing. Because if you don't, in that world out there, rest assured, they're going to have to figure it out the hard way. Now, I'm not sure about you, I went bankrupt twice. Okay, because I did exactly what I was told by so-called professionals after I became an adult. Turns out I should have ignored them. And that said, in both cases that I went bankrupt, okay, both cases I could have avoided. And that said, if you feel you're on the verge of bankruptcy or people are telling you you're on the verge of bankruptcy, absolutely drop me a line. Okay, I do not charge a staggering amount as far as consultation goes. I figure the people that require the help can't afford it. But I've got over 50 years in the consulting field. Okay, and the only people that ever benefit from you declaring bankruptcy are the people that are the bankruptcy trustees. Operation, the answer is 100% yes.
Sorry, the question was if Keith regretted going into bankruptcy.
I really should get used to that. But yeah, going bankrupt, understand, I don't know if you guys have been through this. The first time I went bankrupt because of what I call creative financing. I had several credit cards, but one in particular, I managed to take $1,000 limit, run it up to $2,000, and then fold it. But I was told on $6,000 to go bankrupt. Okay, that same company that I folded on a few years, a decade after I went bankrupt, gave me another credit card and then has worked with me ever since. But here's what happens in bankruptcy. Okay, how you got there is not what we're discussing. You made choices that weren't necessarily bright. Okay, who cares? You can't do anything about it. But you agreed to, you went into debt agreeing to pay a certain amount of money for a certain period of time. The bank, the company that you got the loan from or that you got the card from agreed to let you do that. When you go bankrupt, the bankruptcy trustee will tell you, you don't have to pay any of this, we'll work it out. What they do is, number one, they tell you, you didn't do anything wrong, you're going bankrupt. They tell the company you borrowed the money from, they're only getting pennies on the dollar. Okay, but before they do any of that, they will take their fee out of you. They're making money, not you, not the company that you borrowed money from. Okay, now with that in mind, I ended up the same one of the cards I went belly up on. Okay, offered me a chance. Now the first thing we do when you get started is you literally take a look at what you owe. Take a full, honest assessment. How much do you owe the different companies? How much do you owe in private debt? Okay, now this may be in-store financing. It could be credit cards. It may be a line of credit. All of those are taken into consideration. Okay, you take a look at all of that. How much are you actually owing? Including the things where, like, a friend of yours says, oh, I know you're short, I'll loan you $300. They're not, and they go, don't worry about it. Here's $300. You may be looking at it going, I got to pay them back. That is still included in what you owe. Do not worry about whether or not they told you to let it go. It's up to you whether you keep track of it. Now, I had literally two cases where I loaned money to somebody and said, don't worry about it. I've got a surplus. Here you go. Decades before, I did that with my parents as well. LA, how you doing? We are looking at LA. LA Manjali. I believe that's how it's pronounced. Unfortunately, my eyesight is working kind of like looking through a fog bank. Oh, there we go. Yeah. And that's what we're here for, is to help you get out of that. So the first thing, to help you get above water. I am finally, after a number of years, in the red, as in my overdraft, and barely keeping ahead of the eviction notices. Okay. Hey Blue, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, oh look at that, my phone's about to die. Good thing I don't even take phone calls. Now, once you take a look at it and you figure out how much money you owe, and that is literally what you owe people, but take that all into consideration, then you turn around and look at what your living expenses are. So much for English. Living expenses are simple. Your rent, your utilities, your savings. And if you don't have a savings amount set up, this is why I wrote this. This is why I put this together. Okay. Savings are important. Don't forget, you've got to pay insurance. Now remember, insurance is one of those expenses that you pay so you don't get hung out to dry if you require it. You hope you're paying it and never have to use it, which is really odd. Usually when you're making an investment in something, you kind of want and desire it to make money or to earn you something. Okay, now you've got a whole list of what you've got. Now, money doesn't lie. Okay, you can make statistics do what you will, but the actual basic math doesn't. Okay, of course, from what I gather, basic math now has been turned into a nightmare. One of the nice little parts about it, okay, is once you've got that list together, you break it into three things. Living expenses. Now get this. You've got critical payments that have to be made. Number one, and you're going to love this one because it's completely backwards. When you keep getting told, think, then speak. You undoubtedly have been told, cut back, cut back, cut back. If you can't afford what you're doing, cut back. This is a great idea with one little glitch. Most of the time, you can only cut back so far. So what you do is you look at it and go, okay, I'll cut back as much as I can. Absolutely. But there comes a point where you have to say, I got to do something else about it because I'm just not making ends meet. Okay, so here's what you do. First and foremost, your money comes in, you pay all your bills, you got nothing left. Well, you got to make sacrifices. Certainly you do. And I kid you not, I do this myself. Okay, money comes in. I take 1% off the top, 1 penny on every dollar. Okay, I put that in my mad money. That's the money I put in there to go out and buy a chocolate bar. Okay, maybe a chocolate bar, maybe you put enough in to buy a coffee. Okay, the neat thing there is when you do that, like I put 1% in my pocket, 1% in my actual long-term savings. In my case, I use a TSFA account. Okay, tax-free savings account. There's a lot of reasons for that, but that's another issue. I suggest you really, if I don't know if your country has them, I know Canada does, and specifically BC. But take this and take 1% into your savings. Now, if you have a partner, if you're in a common law or marriage situation, you also take 1% and put it in their mad money and 1% in their long-term savings. Now, there's a whole lot that can be done with this whole partner thing. Understand, if both of you are working, everybody that is working puts that 1% in the mad money. And the reason for it is because that whole event changes the way that you look at your life. It changes the feel of the money from I'm working and paying my bills, or from I'm working to pay my bills, 2, I'm working and paying my bills. I will tell you, and you don't have to believe me off the top of your head, but give it a shot if you haven't and see what happens. Okay, one of the things you'll find is the lower your stress comes in, if you're able to go out and once every 2 weeks buy a chocolate bar, I'm telling you, the feeling is incredible. Okay, it depends on how you were brought up. Understand, you dug yourself into a hole. Do not make the mistake of trying to figure out just exactly what went south. Okay, I told my parents years ago when they wanted details, I looked at them and I said, knock it off, or I just vanish. You know, the reality is that when you're looking at your finances, the money doesn't care how you feel. Okay, and I mean, I love what I found out about the work ethic today. I can't work today because I'm feeling sad. I'll tell you, your bills don't care if you're feeling sad. Okay, your bills don't care if you can't afford to eat. They really don't. You have control over it. Now you're going to split your bills into three stacks. Your living expenses. That's your rent, your utilities, your insurance, your savings. Okay, your entertainment fund. Okay, and the neat part is inside this neat little book, I even broke down the percentages for you. Okay, at least I hope I did. Now I gotta check just to make sure I didn't just stick my foot in my mouth. Where am I here? I am not going to scan through that right now. I don't scan well. But there's a real neat situation here. You take a look at the money coming in. You include all that. If you've got multiple credit cards, there's no problem. Pick one that is below limit. Okay. Put it in your living expenses, because in today's world, you pretty much require a credit card. Okay, so include one only. Once you've got that in, the rest go in the back bin, and you put them aside. Now, you get them split in the living. Your interest accruing debts. This is credit cards. It is lines of credit. It is any sort of lease agreement you've got, any kind of payments that you're making, rent own. These are all interest accruing debts. Okay, so that's your second group. Your third group is the ones that are not interest accruing. These will be private debts, things you owe friends, things you owe family. It may even be things that the friend or family member said, don't worry about ever paying it back. I don't know about you, but I have this problem with that idea. I borrowed the money, I desire to pay it back. I've made the mistake, like I said, of going bankrupt twice. Currently, and this is just, some people would say, oh, you're being too open. Matter of fact, my wife is probably going to say I'm being too open. I am currently capable, even with having spent 2 or 3 years in overdraft, I am now capable of borrowing or of utilizing on credit cards almost $30,000. This was built while in the red. Now, if I can do it, so can you. Okay, and the reality of it is this: it's simply a matter of self-control and discipline. So there's some of you out there that have a problem. I've got a credit card. I can't possibly be out of money. I've still got checks left. Okay, if you have an impulse control problem where it comes to buying, and you're aiming at writing off the debts, there's no big problem with it. Got this one off a young lass that was having a lot of trouble and had an impulse buying problem. So what she did was do not, in my opinion, cancel your credit cards. It has a bigger impact on a negative front than you're likely aware of. Okay. But what this woman did, because she had a lot of credit cards and she desired to be debt free. So what she did was she took her credit cards, and all it took, and I don't have one handy, so I'm not gonna go get it. All it took was she took a file card, like just a normal piece of light cardboard, fold it in half, put the credit card inside it, took that chunk of paper and put it inside a Ziploc bag. Okay. She took those and that bag. Well, she took a lot of different credit cards, put them each in their own bag, and then dropped them into a bucket of water with a little bit of weight and froze the bucket solid. Now, she still had access to the credit cards, but you cannot take a credit card like that when it's in a block of ice. You can't throw it in the microwave if you desire it to work. So you're going to have to wait for the ice to thaw out. And then you can pull it out. The cardboard stops your card from bending while it's freezing. The plastic stops it from getting too wet and destroying it any other way, i.e. moving ice. When you get it out, it's fully accessible, but you got past the impulse. Okay, now, this is where you start. This is where you got to. Okay. Now you've got everything laid out. Now we start looking at money coming in. So a paycheck comes in, and I mean, whether you're working, and whether you're on disability, on old age pension, whether you're on some sort of a trust fund, any money comes into your account, 1% goes off the top into your mad money. Okay, deal with the mad money with the savings. Then you take a look at your living expenses and you make your minimum payments. Now, I will get into another neat little trick with that before we get done. You make your minimum payments. Okay, so you're not getting any of your utilities cut off. Now, here's the silly thing that I've been told by way too many people. I ask them, what's the most important bill to pay other than rent? Because you don't pay your rent, you're on the street. Rent, lease, mortgage, doesn't matter. Pay that first. Then you're going to love this one. I get people going, oh, my power's behind, my TV's behind. I got to pay my TV bill. I got to pay for my internet before it gets cut off. And I can't afford to pay both. Well, people, if you can't afford to pay both, you better be paying the power, because pay the internet. Go right ahead. Your power gets cut off, it's pretty much hooped anyway. Okay, so you turn around, get the power paid. Now, deal with your living expenses. Whatever you've got left, okay, now you target the smallest, and I forgot to do that. Target the smallest, monetarily speaking, interest accruing debt. Okay, you ignore the interest rates. They don't matter. Okay, they're going to do what they will. But you take the smallest one and pay it first. And here's why. Okay, by paying it first, what you end up with is fewer debts. And psychologically speaking, it is so much easier to deal with one big debt than 15 little ones. Okay, now understand, when you've got all your debts laid out, and I do apologize, I have a tendency of going back and forth, which is a lousy way of doing it. When you break your list into 3 parts, list each bill in its monetary level. Okay, so whatever you owe on the credit cards, on private loans, that sort of thing. Biggest one at the top, smallest at the bottom. You look at your minimum payments, get them paid. Then anything you've got left, pay the smallest one off. Okay, even if it's only a couple of dollars, pay the smallest one off. Okay, because you wipe it out And whatever's left, whatever you've now eliminated, can go into the other ones. It's a snowball effect. And as long as you understand, the money will do what it does. It doesn't care if you're a pauper or a multi-billionaire. It still works the same way. Okay, now I'm just going to open this, make sure I've hit the issues I was looking at. One day I will get organized. I wouldn't hold my breath on it, but yes.
So I just wanted to quickly remind people, LA did actually post this in the chat, but I think it's important, and I know that those of you who watch YouTube a lot hear this a lot, but unfortunately it's kind of part and parcel with how things work. Please give a like and subscribe to this channel, and absolutely share this channel and what you have learned with your friends. If there are people that you know who are having financial trouble or who are looking for some help with their lives, or who are just interested in UFO and odd things of that nature, absolutely bring them to us. And yeah, share this channel and subscribe so that you can get notified when we have live shows. And yeah, there's our little plug.
And thank you very much for that, Kara.
Yeah.
You know, the reality of it is, when you start looking at your finances and you realize you're the one in control of them, you know, people keep going, there are all these big companies are making the problem. Okay. Problem with that is the big companies are there for one purpose. They're not there to help you. Okay. They are there to make money. Okay. And that's just the reality behind it. You know, one of the things that we got to remember, you know, one of the things we got to remember is no matter who tells you what, and rest assured, I am not the authority on everything. I'm not the authority on anything. Heck, I can barely manage being me. But when it comes to money, understand the only thing being a multimillionaire does is it lets you buy more of different items. That's it. You know, I mean, if you've only got $1 to work with, you can buy, if you're lucky, well, you can buy a piece of candy. I don't think you can even get a chocolate bar now. You know, Big, how you doing? I did not see you come in. As a matter of fact, I scrambled that one really badly. So I'm just going to go back to the top here. And we had Mike come in. Mike came in with the gold. Operation came in with the silver. Then we slide down a bit. And what do we got here? Mike Operation. Oh, look at that. And then we have, oh, there we are. We have LA, where are we? Lamb, LA Mangolin. Okay. You are in with the bronze. And then we slide a little further and we have Blue Cruise comes in with honorable mention. You know, I'm quite happy with the turnout. And I don't look at numbers really. I was looking at our number of subscribers. You know, we are not in the thousands, which means you guys get the heads up. I've watched a lot of people over the years, including professional bankers, that missed the boat on how to make money work. I'm not kidding you on that. Okay, and I could go into that as well. But once you get things handled and things organized, what you're going to find is the money around you will start to amplify. And here's the thing to watch for. In any of your accounts, check your balances on the first of the month. Okay. Go about your life. But what you're targeting is to ensure that the next month, like in January, you had X number of dollars. Okay. If you haven't done that already, do it tonight. Okay. But February 1st, you're looking to see one marker that your bank account is 1 penny higher than it was at the beginning of last month. And any credit cards or lines of credit you have are a minimum of 1 penny lower. Okay, that's what you're looking for, because this will show you quantifiable evidence that you're making headway. Okay. Now, where are we? Just going down to the bottom here. Uh-oh. Keith, looking back at this lifetime, what is your biggest financial regret? Bankruptcy number one. When I went bankrupt on a $6,000 bill at the guidance of a professional bankruptcy trustee. Bar none, financially, that is the stupidest move I could have made. I went and listened to the bankruptcy trustee at the request of my parents, and I thought they knew what they were doing. This was a massive mistake. Okay, now yes, a lot of places will pressure you if you're overdrawn. A lot of places will go, well, you got to get this money to us right now. And I'll tell you, it takes a bit of a backbone. But I reached a point, now understand, I'm 62, okay? And I finally got the creditors doing what I desire them to do. I'm still paying the bills. You will get creditors phoning you up if you owe money, and they will push, or collection agencies. I'm not giving you advice on collection agencies. I can tell you they work for me now. Okay, they really do. They call me and I go, no, I know what you want, but you're not getting it. Here's the thing. You know how much money you've got, and they want their money first. But many times people will listen to the pressure, and because they'll threaten you with stupid things. Okay. And they'll pressure you and say, you got to pay this, and they'll guilt you into it. And then you go into panic. I did the same thing. First time I went bankrupt was on $6,000. Second time I went bankrupt was on $14,000. Now, the first one was creative financing. Second one, my boss bounced my paycheck. He didn't tell me, and the bank didn't tell me before it was too late. Right now, I was literally $22,000 in debt, actually almost 24. Okay. And I managed to work my way in a period of 6 months by working with the companies, by getting them to do what I required. And yes, I'm quite willing to guide you through that. I am not a bankruptcy trustee. I am not a, if you will, professional advisor, a professional financial advisor. Okay, I've never been trained in any of it. So I'm about as subtle as a brick. Okay, and let's just say I've got a stubborn streak that's insane. But if you don't have the money, you can't give it to them. Okay, and as I end up telling people, yeah, I owe you money. I'm telling you, I owe you money. You're not getting it by putting me on the street. Not going to happen. Now, I'm stubborn. Okay, and now I've gotten to the point where things are working in my direction. All my accounts are in the black. My credit cards are all under limit, and bank accounts are climbing. My credit cards are dropping in balance. This is why I say I figured out how to do it. Now, on here, in Positive Perspectives, the free magazine I put out, this is free information. If you require assistance, if you go to the top of the chat room to the Buy Me a Coffee link, okay, buymeacoffee.com/InnerVoiceJ. It shows you there how to get a hold of me. Now, to be clear, being a consultant, being a psychic consultant, financial, personal, business, I have been paid as much as, I kid you not, $2,600 an hour. And then some. I only charge $20 for 15 minutes. And that's with over 50 years of working in the industry. It is with over 100,000 clients. That's where my data comes from. Okay. And one of the biggest things you got to remember is, yes, I've made mistakes. I'm the first one to tell you I've made mistakes. But I do like being able to help somebody go, okay, you dug yourself into a crater. let's not worry how you got there. It doesn't matter. I believe the term goes, it just doesn't matter. And it really doesn't. Whatever you did, you're not doing it again. Because we're going to show you, if you go back over this stream, you'll find that by making notes, you can turn your own finances around. Now, I may be speaking Swahili to you. I don't know. But if you're having trouble, absolutely drop me a line. I'm not that hard to find. Okay. Worst case scenario, just about anybody in this room knows how to get a hold of me anyway. Talk to your friends. Somebody will figure out how to find me. Okay. And for pity's sakes, if a war starts out, somebody give them my address. Because I don't feel like cleaning the mess up. That's what's called a sidetrack. Okay. Now, I will tell you this. Where it comes to investments, I am not an investment broker. I will tell you that whoever you're talking to about investments, they are paid to make sure you get the best deal for the bank, not for you. Okay. And the one question I asked an advisor one day, he was trying to tell me what to invest in. And he was selling it real heavy. I looked at him and I said, wait a minute. And so I got one question. Do you have any of this stock? And he looks at me and I says, I get that answer before we go any further. So he gets up, checks around, closes the door. Okay. Absolutely operation. Operation is just telling us this is a good time to rethink finances at the beginning of the new year. Absolutely. Okay. Now, this financial advisor, he goes over, checks around, makes sure nobody's near his door, closes the door, comes over to me and leans real close and goes, I wouldn't touch that stock if my life depended on it. I looked at him and I says, okay, so why are you pushing it? He goes, because I like getting a paycheck. And this is the problem that many financial advisors face. Okay, I'm lucky. I can say what I will. Okay, but you'll notice I never tell you what bank I deal with, what company I deal with, who I owe money to. I just don't bother. Okay, it avoids me getting hit with slander or libel. Now, the same thing applies to your finances. I don't control them. And honestly, whether your finances climb or not isn't going to make one iota of difference to my way of doing the work in the world. Okay, let me ask you this. And obviously, I'm not going to get a whole lot of responses from people in here. But when you look at your financial world, are you content with the way it is standing? Not is everybody else happy, but are you content with it? Okay, if you've got kids or you've got people you're taking care of, regardless of their intellectual age, okay, regardless of it, put them down while you're working on your finances. And I don't mean turn around and insult them. I mean, sit them down beside you. Okay, and tell them what you're working on. The reason for it is if you don't do it while they're at home, while you've got some guiding power over them, they're going to have to learn it the hard way. Now, I don't know about you, but I learned it the hard way. 2 bankruptcies, and now I go to put money into an account, and I end up with the bank going, oh, you qualify for a pre-approved credit card. I went, bonus, I'll take it. But understand, I do not have an impulse buying problem. Like I used to. I was good at it. Like I said, I took a $1,000 credit card and ran a $2,000 balance off it before they cut it off. Now they're all dropping. Okay. But your money doesn't care how you feel. You can have a cold. If you're feeling sad, apparently that's a viable reason not to go to work. My outlook is, oh, I'm sorry, you're feeling sad, you can't go to work. That's no problem. Now you're unemployed. Now you don't have to go to work. But then I'm a little blunt and I'm definitely old school. Okay, I've got this brilliant idea. My dad, and I got it from my dad. He was real simple about it. He went, take care of your pennies and your dollars will take care of themselves. Okay, now we are going to be covering something down the road. There is other things to do with finances. We're going to be enhancing all of that as we go along. Okay, one of the things we have to remember about finances, they don't care. Okay, it's not like you can take a person and hand a person to somebody else and they won't complain. Okay, but a dollar bill doesn't care. Neither does a dollar coin. See, up here in Canada, we got a great setup. You guys down in the States have a silver dollar or just simply a dollar. Okay, but it's money. Up here, we have loonies, and they are all over Canada. And I'm not talking about the little coin that we call a loonie. I'm talking about the other ones. Okay, so what you have to realize is money doesn't care. So the coin, the loonie, has no feelings towards whether you're feeling good or not. Okay, doesn't care if you're healthy as a horse or if you're healthy like Old Yeller. Doesn't matter. Okay, for it, money just does what it desires. Now, the other thing you got to remember, you put money into a bank or into an investment, they're going to give you a percentage back. Take a look at the percentage you're getting. Do not worry about what they're getting. Okay, because I'll tell you, from what I gather, if I recall correctly, when I was in school, okay, if you went to somebody and you invested with them, if you were lucky, you were getting 5%, 5% return. The company that was investing your money was making 20. Okay, this is the way people do business. It's not a question of whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. It's a question of that's what it is. Okay, now, do I have the wherewithal to make it happen? Not yet. Okay, in time, like I've already got with Inner Voice Enterprises, I've already got it laid out where I know how the money works. I know where every dollar is coming in, how it's going out. I don't do a budget because a budget only works if you get the exact same amount of money every month. Now, for those of you on social assistance or on disability, you've got a static amount. You guys can work with a budget. But remember, if you're not making enough money to make ends meet, there's only so far you can cut back. Okay? And one of the things we're going to be covering kind of, down the road a bit here is how to actually utilize money in a group setting so that everybody can survive. Because I don't know about you, but I don't necessarily have to buy, 15 loaves of bread. I do strongly recommend that people have a 3-month non-perishable food stock. I don't have that. Of course, it's only been this year that I've actually been in the black. Okay, but I will tell you, having a 2-year food stock, not a good idea, really. Okay, but there are ways of making that work. But you got to keep in mind, banks are not there to help you. They're there to get you to put your money in their bank because they're allowed to invest your money, and you can bet you're not getting as much of a return as they are. And that's perfectly fine, at least in my opinion, as long as they're giving you what they tell you you're going to give you. It's kind of like getting a job. You get a job, you get offered a job for X number of dollars to do X job. Your responsibility is show up for those hours and do your job. Simple and straightforward. A bank or an investment company, their job is to take your money, invest it, and make sure you get what they said your investment would be. Okay, and it's just that simple. Now, sooner or later, and you're going to love this one because this is just putting out there what I'm aiming at. Sometime in the next year or so, I will manage to get money to the point where I can turn to a lawyer, get an investment set up, where I can look at people and go, here is how you can invest in what I'm doing. But that will be done with a lawyer, making certain it is legally safe for everybody. But anybody that's talking you into investing in their company, and I do mean when you put money in a bank, you're investing in the bank, whether you know it or not. That's what you're doing. Okay. Yes, you can buy stocks. Okay. That's a whole different ballgame. But when you look at the money itself, understand money is there. It does not do a thing for you if it's sitting still. Okay. And here's a neat little tidbit for you. Renting to own, leasing to own. We're going to cover all that in an episode in a session down the road. The big thing with money is this. I looked at money and went, I don't have any interest in it. Big, big, big mistake. Okay. And in all fairness, operation, you asked me what my biggest regret was. That's probably bigger than the bankruptcy. The fact I looked at money and went, there's no real point to it. I don't care. I'm not materialistic. I don't have an interest in having a big bank account. Bad move, people. Get an interest in it today. Okay. Don't wait until next week. Well, I don't have the money to invest. If you've got a nickel, you've got the money to invest in your pocket. Okay, in your pocket, in your well-being. Okay, this is what I'm trying to tell you. You want your biggest source of income. It happens to be right between your temples. Right there. Your mind is the thing that works. Money doesn't care how you feel. Money won't look at you twice if you've got a cold. Of course, it won't look at you twice if you're perfectly healthy. Okay, now, I'm still not materialistic. If I were materialistic, I wouldn't have worked out a way where I can take approximately 80% of my net income over my bare minimum and turn it back over to society in the way of charity, where I will buy other people's groceries, pay for somebody's meal. And this isn't just a friend. I literally have been known to walk into a restaurant, stop at the front table and go at the front counter and look at the place and go, okay, that table, okay, they're not drinking anything but Coke or, but pop or coffee. That table, I want to pay their bill. Okay, don't know who they are, don't care who they are. Okay, there is a group of people that is constantly overlooked, and that is the working poor. And you guys probably know who I'm talking about. If you aren't there yourself, you probably know somebody that is. The only charities I give money to, I don't give money. I will give donations to a food bank, to a pet shelter. Absolutely. Even people on the street, I will give food to, not money. Okay, that way they get what's really required. From your standpoint, understand the big thing with cash is this. I don't know about you. We go back a few years. Okay, people talk about digital money. Well, I'll tell you, we are already off Earth. And thank you very much for that, LA. We are down to the 10-minute mark. We're already, mankind has already left the building. We're already in outer space. I know there's lots of people that tell me, oh, that's all a hoax. I don't care. Okay. I heard somebody from the States actually announce that we are running low on gravity. Okay. But we're already off Earth. Okay. You're not getting that much gold bullion off the planet. But I will tell you this. Okay. I don't have it on me. I don't care. You have a bank card. You've got that kind of thing. I'm telling you, it's easier to move a digital dollar than it is to drag a cow across town. And they used to sell the cattle barons. They were calculated. Their wealth was calculated by the number of cattle they had. Okay, the reality is it's easier to take care of a digital dollar than it is a full-grown cow, and even easier than trying to take care of a full-grown mule on a bad day. Now, over the course of next year, Mondays, we are going to look at all sorts of things where it comes to handling your finances. None of them will involve convincing your dollar, your bank account, that you are feeling better, that you're more important than the next person. Your money doesn't care. And honestly, neither do the bank managers. They'll paint a really good story. Oh, we'll look after your dollar, your money as well as we look after our own. This is not a good indication, okay? Because if they're investing in the bank's not looking after them. I'll tell you that right now. And I know this because I've had clients that were bank managers, okay? I actually talked to a bank manager one day, asked him if he had a true savings account. Long story short, they didn't have one, okay? It sounded really good until you looked at it. Now, I will tell you, your spending is going to revolve a lot around your feelings, okay? But you're controlling your cash flow is a purely logical thing because it doesn't care how you feel. Now, I will show you over the next number of months how to make your money work. And while I'm doing that, I will keep you posted on what mine is doing. That way you'll see quantifiable evidence that what I'm talking about works. Now, let me see here. We are down under that, so I desire to open up this. Now, just before we get hung out to dry here, this Friday, courtesy of Storm, we have Frontier Friday. We are going to be looking at the Strazazian homeworld. The Strazazians are an alien race, reptilian race, 7.5 to 8.5 feet tall as adults. They are on Earth. Okay, many are underground, not an incredible amount, but enough to make a difference. Okay, they are direct allies of Earth.
Sorry to interrupt. I think we were actually talking Udina.
That's the following week.
That was the following week.
Yeah.
Okay, my apologies.
Oh, no problem. And Carrie is right. The following Friday, we're going to be looking at the Udina homeworld. Okay, now the Udina, for those of you that don't know, if you ever watched the movie Arrival, those are Udina. Okay, on Saturday of this week, we're going to be looking at alien medical technology. Then on Sunday, we're going to look at language, its impact on mental health. On Monday, we take a look at finances again. Sharing expenses. Why do it? Okay. On Tuesday, we look at the impact at your self-help department, at the impact of wardrobe and bearing in the modern world. And to be honest with you, it's the same in today's world as it was in 100 BC. Okay. And I know there's people out there that tell me, oh, nothing happened before year zero. It's like all of a sudden we were all here. I have a little bit of a hiccup with that. I remember before that, but that's my problem. Okay, but these are the things we're coming up with. Now, we are approaching the end of the day because we should be sitting here at, pretty much. We are literally at the end of the show. And I'll tell you, the idea that Storm in LA came up with, that we turn around and cut this to an hour as compared to 2 hours, was absolutely the right move. Okay. One of the nice little situations that we take a look at is this. As I've always said, working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Whether you're a pauper or a multimillionaire, money will work for you when you guide it. Okay, but bring your friends, bring strangers, heck, bring your enemies. You show enemies how they can actually make their money work. And I will tell you, you may have friends out of the deal. This said, thank you so much for sharing your time with us tonight. Really appreciate it. We will be back again tomorrow. Okay. But until then, we'll be back at 8 p.m. Pacific tomorrow. Okay. No, I lied. Friday. I take Wednesday, Thursday off. Okay. But we'll be back on Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific. Until then, back up. I will be back tomorrow at 4 o'clock in the... No, I won't. We'll be back at 8 p.m. Pacific. Until then, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.